Monday, 20th of November 2023. This evening's show, we will be waxing lyrical about the taming of the Shrews as blown at Bloomfield Road on Saturday as the pool finally put our bogey team to the sword and also put in a full 90-minute performance. What a performance it was! I'm John Asperone. This is Seaside's podcast, match reaction show. Blackpool 4, Shrewsbury Town 0-0. And I don't know why I went all Ted Lasso then. 0. Maybe because I've been on the coaching pitch. Has everyone seen that, by the way?
Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the elephant in the room, John, is now that you virtually UEFA C qualified, are you playing with wing backs?
Are they inverted?
Inverted, of course.
Have you got 3 at the back?
It's only 9 aside, so 3-4-1's my formation of choice at the moment.
It's a bit negative, isn't it? Yeah.
Double pivot.
We're not negative on here. Tons of positivity tonight.
4 little rays of sunshine.
4-0.
We've got to be more positive than watching England anyway, haven't we? Because I don't know how it's going to end up, but it was a hard watch.
Have England played tonight?
Yeah, they're playing now. They haven't finished yet.
North Macedonia?
You've seen the worst penalty decision of all time given to Macedonia. And Harry Kane comes on, and I think it was no G, but it's 1-1 at the moment, I think, with about 10 minutes left.
I actually didn't know we were playing.
Neither did I.
No, Malta. Didn't even know we played against Malta. I think that the Euro qualifiers are just irrelevant now, aren't they? Guaranteed qualification.
Yeah. We've qualified, so.
Just depends which pots you're going now or something. Well, not interesting.
Yes, Dennis. Suffered enough watching England. Bring on the pod. You know it makes sense. And Phil Clifton, I see AH has been dropped after last week's ultra negative display. The irony. Phil, he hasn't been dropped. It is simply squad rotation.
The Tinkerman. The Tinkerman, aren't you, John? They call now amongst us presenters.
So Andy has been banging at my door. So if we do a preview show, he'll be re-rotated on. But let's talk about Blackpool 4, Shrewsbury 0. Mitch, you've not been on for a bit. Good to see you back.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here. I'm expecting you'll bring Andy in about 20 minutes from the end of the pod. Just needlessly take me off and then bring Andy on.
Just when you're in full flight.
Yeah, just to shore things up.
Matt Smith, you're not like a negative or positive, are you? You've always been quite well balanced.
I'm the voice of reason on the pod, aren't I? Really? Yeah.
There's no Nick, so the voice of reason.
No,
too,
he appears as often as Kevin Stewart, doesn't he? On a first team performance, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I only come in when the big wins happen. So
we should have like a dial of who's sort of in the middle, who's more positive side, who's the negative side. What do you all think, listeners, viewers?
I got accused of being very negative last week. I actually didn't think I was. So I'm gonna have to. I maybe need to listen back and just see actually what I said, because I actually thought I was reasonable. I actually was challenging you lot, and I was being shouted down for like trying to be a bit more positive. But anyway, there you go.
I was being very negative in the Moretti Lounge. Tim.
You were
my debut in there.
Jeez,
got there really
I think you might be blackballed.
Nowhere to sit, nowhere to put your drink. So I complained to one of the staff there, and I got a right telling off by one of the corporate bigwigs. Basically said,
"The man in the big blue suit."
Yeah, read the T's and C's on the website. you're not, and you shouldn't. There's nothing to say. You can have a seat or somewhere to put your drink. He said, "You've got a beer, you've got a pint. You don't have to queue for a piss. What more? What more do you want?"
Exactly. What more do you want? I'm trying to be positive, John. Got what, seats?
You need seats at our age, though, don't they? That's the problem. Seats in a nearby toilet normally.
Oh, Mitch is smugly looking at my faux pas of going into the Moretti Lounge with the likes of Tim and Moccasin Wiring Brigade.
They're missing a trick in not opening a £20 lounge where you get a seat or a very minimal wall to lean against. Just have endless lounges.
I sat in one of the seats where it's all, like velvet roped off, Tim. There is actually that kind of variation, Mitch.
There's a velvet roped off VIP area, is there?
Wow.
There's a subclass of sort of for the higher echelons of the Moretti. There's like a Moretti.
Is that the fielding lounge?
Yeah. It's like a Moretti gold standard area where there's like velvet roped off and you can't sit in these seats. Like, sorry, I'm going to sit on there. And I got quickly escorted away from
silver service in there as well. It is, it's sort of proper cutlery and everything.
He said, "How dare you sitting in the fielding zone without prior authorization?" But it was all good though. Got a pie.
And they have ordered some. Listen, on the positive though, actually, it wasn't as busy as it's been some other weeks, but they've got it incredibly busy because I think people have realised it's actually quite a good value for money. But they've run out of seats, so I did have a word, John, because I heard you. I could see you moaning on the WhatsApp. So when I turned up, I had a word, and they promised that there'll be some new tables and chairs for you if you ever deign them with your presence again.
Well, for me, the word lounge means you sit down, don't you? That was my
You think
argument.
so? See, that should have been your retort. A lounge in furs that you actually can lounge.
Well, exactly.
Stand.
Exactly.
I'd expect a chaise longue as a bare minimum, to be honest with you.
all Emperor Nero and all that.
Yeah, peeled grapes and all that.
Right. Oh, here we go, Cliff. That was Phil. You could have a Wyneken lounge for you. Two good ones, Phil. Right, let's get on with the show. As ever, we start with a lineup now. I'm praying to God I've got this right. Yeah. Starting 11 of Grimmy. Back three of Husband, Ekpateta, Pennington. Midfield five from left to right. Dale, Carey, Dougal, Dembele. CJ up top. Jordan Rhodes and Jake Beasley, fresh from his midweek brace, promoted to the first team. Who wants to come in first on this?
Well, of course, being on the preview pod, where I think it was me who actually floated the idea, somewhat ironically, that that Critch might actually go with Beasley, and we all went, nah, he won't.
It got laughed out of court almost.
It was completely laughed out of court. And so actually, when you saw the team, probably there weren't too many surprises other than Jake got the start and, he scored two good goals on Tuesday night. I think it was, wasn't it? And Critch has rewarded him with the shirt. So I don't know whether Kouassi was injured. We don't get a lot of information, do we? Or whether he just completely dropped from the squad. But he was the noticeable absentee.
He's got a hamstring, apparently, Tim.
Oh, right. Okay. So that may well...
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
another one.
That perhaps explains a lot, doesn't it? Because I think we all thought it was too early for Joseph to be starting. I think we all felt he needed to be eased in. That was my thoughts immediately. I wondered whether he was injured, because he didn't just drop out the team or not be considered for the start, and he wasn't involved at all. So I'm glad he didn't play. My immediate thoughts were, I'm glad he's not got Dembele up there, because I always felt I'm not quite sure, particularly at home, that quite works with him and Rhodes. But yeah, I think otherwise we weren't surprised that Marv kept his place. I wasn't surprised that Norman wasn't fit and didn't play. So yeah, otherwise I was quite happy. Dale happy with. The rest of the team pretty much at the moment picks itself, doesn't it?
Or does it?
Well, I think it did most certainly on Saturday. I think there's a discussion to be had later with the players that we've got coming back as to there's going to be some interesting selections. But I would have said, I think the only places were up for grabs were Casey and Fred Pateta, Norburn if he was fit, and then who plays up front with Rhodes. I think they're the only basically decisions to be made.
Any other thoughts on the starting 11?
Well, I mean, I know it sounds a bit wise after the event, but I just liked it when I saw it. I genuinely did, because it's kind of the swap Bees for Lavery, and it's kind of the approach that we played. We actually played very well second half at Fleetwood, and we were very attacking, we were very aggressive, we were slick, we were fast for sort of 20, 25 minutes, half an hour in that second half. And I kind of just looked at it and went, yeah, it's brave. He's played the wingers rather than the wing backs, if you like. And the midfield, I really like the Dembele Carey combination. I think those two complement each other nicely. Dougal for a bit of steel, and then, big man and a fox in the box. And I really, really, really liked it. But yeah, I mean, I was like everyone, was a bit surprised to see Bees in there. But at the end of the day, who else are you going to play? So
almost by default, then. If
yeah.
Matt, we had an early shock. Shrewsbury's probably their only meaningful attack of the game, perhaps, and maybe it was a good thing that happened early. It sort of shook us into life, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he took it well there, the lad, and Grimshaw made a really decent save on his right-hand side, I think it was. But that was literally in the first sort of 60 seconds, wasn't it? Even thereabouts, and off the corner that they had, he smashed it right into the north stand, and that was, it was probably a bit of a little bit of a kick up the backside for us early on, which we might have needed, just to remind us that we are, fallible and all the rest of it. But that was about all the action in the north end of the ground for pretty much most of the half. And yeah, it sort of stung us into action, and we just sort of got on and ultimately did a very good professional job. And just to have me 2 penneth in the lineup, I just thought it was more what I think most fans want, in that it just looked sort of more attacking, more fluid potentially. And against a side like Shrewsbury, who've got a bad away record, they're very good at home, or relatively good at home, but their away record is shocking. And I know that they seem to have a little bit of a hoodoo over us, but it was good to see that we were nice and positive from a starting 11 perspective, despite that little warning early on.
You can tell he's not quite on form yet, Matt, because north end of the ground. What's all that about?
North. Well, you know what I mean. I'm just geographically explaining.
End.
Don't say that.
I'm not saying north stand, north end. You know what I mean? Bloody hell. I'm out of touch. What I'm saying.
Blackpool North End.
No,
it doesn't have quite the ring to it, does it?
I didn't actually. I had to watch that bit on the highlights as well, because I was in the pub slightly later than advertised, and also then had to succumb to the inevitable queuing at the turnstile. So I literally walked into the ground, and it was the shot that I saw into the stand rather than the shot that I saw into the near quarter, the far corner of the net. But thanks to extended highlights, I managed to see that one. But there you go.
Just reading that. I bet John is one of those airport vultures at the gate boarding ahead of his designated boarding group on the flight. Well, Mr. H, I'm not. I'm one of those airport vultures who goes on the plane absolutely last.
Because he's been in the lounge getting his fill, haven't you, John?
Yeah, I'm always in a business class lounge demanding a seat.
Properly sat down.
Mitch, let's come to you for the goal. In these notes that we've got. Someone's put the back heel by Jordan Rhodes, and was it a pen? You're nearest. Tell us all about that delicious back heel, and was it a pen?
First, I'm contractually obliged to point out the sharp and intelligent header by Sonny Carey to divert the ball to Rhodes, which was, joking aside, you don't necessarily associate Sonny with sort of getting his head in there and doing that. And that was a nice bit of play. But Rhodes had loads to do, and the ball came to him. And what a just. I don't know how many times we can say this, but what an all-round player for a player who was supposedly going to stick the ball in the net if somebody carried it on a silver platter for him to score the goal. What an all-round player he is. I mean, that was just a beautiful turn and back heel, and then Dembele into the box. I'm not convinced. I mean, I haven't watched it back loads. I'm not convinced that was a penalty, but I'm also not convinced that really matters, because he'd already been scythed down about 3 times by then, and he was scythed down about another 48 times after that. So whether or not it was a pen or not, it was kind of karmic for the way that they attempted to hack Dembele out the game. And then the penalty itself, I mean, I don't think anybody in the ground thought he was going to miss. And he made absolutely no mistake, did he? Beautiful penalty. Sent the keeper, if I remember rightly, sent the keeper the wrong way, up into the corner of the net, just completely clinical. And that calmed everything down a bit, because I thought actually our start wasn't great, but it just kind of calmed everything down. And from that point on, there was no question.
Tim, I did think of you when I saw the Shrewsbury keeper, Morossi, his name is, messing about with these big hands, pointing one way, pointing the other. Because remember you pillaring Grimmy for doing the same, if you recall. If you notice that.
It takes those of a certain vintage back to Bruce Grobbelaar in Rome, doesn't it? In 1981 or 82, whichever it was.
Before Alan Kennedy scored the winner, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's a bit.
So I think just before I say my 2 penneth, I think I just like to pick up some of that Mitch has talked about, because I think what's impressed me about Rhodes is more than anything else is his contribution towards the team, as probably more so than his goal scoring, which he's not been as prolific in recent weeks. Well, it's difficult to keep that scoring ratio up anyway. But last week at Bolton, and I think I sort of spoke about at the time, the way he actually used the side of his head to lay Dembele in for the shot that hit the upright, and then again on Saturday he's done the same thing again and just put Dembele in the danger zone, completely switch play. His ability to switch the play from the obvious to the far less obvious is incredible, and whether it's him chesting balls into the net or diverting shots, whatever it is, he has this uncanny, and it's not, it's clearly part of his game, this uncanny ability just to completely switch momentum in a way that creates chances. And all hail Jordan Rhodes, as far as I'm concerned.
Just to pick up on that, the weight of his passes is incredible. Like when he plays a pass to another player, not only does he check, but he always it's like that perfect sort of golf shot that just drops short of, or I can't think of quite the right metaphor, but he's like a snooker player with them. I'm sorry to cut him, but that's something that I have noticed about him. For a player that's reputedly just a fox in the box, he's outrageous, isn't he, at that?
Yeah, you can add that pass that he put through to CJ, can't you, when he scored the last goal against, was it Stevenage the other week?
Yeah.
And I think we're just seeing a little bit more of him that we never really appreciated, being an opposition fan player, whichever way around you want to call it. And you just know him as the 6-yard sort of player, but you're seeing an awful lot more of him. And whether that's because he's matured a bit and all the rest of it, and he's actually got this in his locker anyway, and we're just being, seeing the fruits of that. I don't care. It's great, isn't it? The fact that we don't have to rely on him scoring all the time. It's great that He does, obviously, but he doesn't have to have the 10 out of 10 game to help the side. I think he's a great player, and I just hope somehow that we can manage to keep him for the whole of the season. It'll just make a massive difference to us.
I think the other thing I noticed from the early sort of phases of play was that they clearly came with a game plan to sit behind the ball and try and catch us on the counter. But other than that first shot they had, they were pretty woeful when it came to actually countering, I thought. And it took them an age. I think it was, ironically, a little bit like we are sometimes, where we don't change when we need to change in certain away games. They seem to stick to that game plan, even though it clearly wasn't working, all through the first half. I mean, I think the possession stats were off the scale for us. But, we looked a bit more, we looked more positive. We didn't just keep playing it round the back. We were looking for incisive moves and incisive play. And it was, as much as I've criticised in the past when we've messed about with it at the back, we didn't on Saturday. We looked purposeful.
Yeah, we just passed it a lot quicker, didn't we? From back to front and all over, and midfield especially. And we'll talk about Dougal later on. He was pivotal to that, I thought. I think he was the one that just kept it snappy all the way through, whereas sometimes we've been a little bit laboured, haven't we, really?
Well, and who says Dougal can't play a 30-yard ball? I think there was one he played in the first half was just sublime. It really was. But yeah, I just all over the pitch, and it was, if it wasn't happening on the right, it went to the left, but it was in their half and not in our last third, which is where it does get a little bit frustrating. But that's what they were. They were almost like prepared to concede possession right up to the halfway line, and beyond. And when you've got players like Dembele and CJ and Dale on the other side and Rhodes, that's a dangerous way to play football, I think. And they paid for it. And all the way through the game, I think they paid for it, because it was a very strange performance from them, I thought.
I think we've got Andy to thank for this performance, because his key takeaway in the last pod was the ball needs to be moving quicker than McCall's.
Yeah. And listen, that's what we've all been talking about, hasn't it? And it and I go back, Critch did that podcast with the EFL, and he was actually talking about it as well. He used the expression that we use, which is taking the handbrake off. And, I suppose it's a fairly common metaphor, but it's true. You wanted, now what's responsible for that doesn't really matter, but you want the players to take a few more risks, give the ball away a little bit more if it actually has to happen. You can always win it back, but just keeping possession for possession's sake is pointless. Saw a bit of that with England in the first half tonight, I thought, where it was just very, very repetitive playing around and not really doing anything with it. And we were the complete opposite of that on Saturday, I thought, which was good. Great.
I thought it was quite interesting what Critch said after the game he said, I did pick an attacking team. There's 6 players in there that I would have as either goal scorers or assist makers. So I'd said to them, basically, you better go and get some goals and assists. And they played with that intent, didn't they? They played with that intent that sort of the 6 players. You've got the back 3 and Dougal, who have got a bit more sort of defensively about them, and then the rest of them really don't. They're not there to defend. They're there to get the goal or create a goal, and they played like that for 90 minutes, which was a refreshing change. And I suppose, as bad as Shrewsbury were, it would be interesting to, in some kind of weird time traveling experiment, it'd be quite interesting to put our early season team, that the one that put those 3 0-0s on the board one after the other. It'd be quite interesting to put that team up against that Shrewsbury team and see what happened. Would we have sat off and just kind of let Shrewsbury sit off us? Because I think, they were bad, but I think also we have to give ourselves some credit for playing very convincing attacking football. It was that kind of attacking football that was, we had the ball, we moved the ball around, we'd had possession for long spells. They didn't even get a sniff beyond that first 60 seconds.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, John, I know you want to move on, but I just want to add that it's interesting that we always talk about the away side and how they've maybe poorly performed, and we don't big ourselves up on too many times when we have made a good contribution and obviously done really well and scored 4 goals and all the rest of it. And it's nice to be a little bit more positive, even though we were joking about that earlier, because you do hope, and it'll be a massive test on Saturday, obviously away at Portsmouth. You do hope that this might be a bit of a catalyst to the rest of the season, quite frankly, despite the fact that obviously 1 or 2 lads are out injured. This squad is potentially very good enough to get at least into the playoffs, isn't it? Let's be honest. And let's just hope that the handbrake is permanently off now and we can actually sort of enjoy a little bit more free-flowing football.
Absolutely, Matt. Mitch, tell us about the second goal. CJ with those afterburners on as he does, but with a comedic goal, almost like Keystone Cops.
Yeah, it was a great goal. I really enjoyed this one. I mean, CJ, brilliant, absolutely class. That spin, he sort of span and step round the lad who'd come to meet the ball and try and challenge him for the ball, and it completely did him. It was a really lovely bit of skill for a player that I've sometimes said doesn't necessarily possess the most skill. Really did brilliantly, charging away, absolutely thrilling to watch him cut inside. And I was thinking, is he going to have a shot? It looked for all the world like he should have had a shot. He didn't, and he sort of nailed it across the box. Beasley couldn't miss, and he just did everything. He just did everything he could to not score it. He had 2 bites at it. He fell over, and then it sort of bounced up and went in off him. And when it goes in, if you watch it back, when it goes in, he's actually looking completely the other way, looking for the ball. And then he looks around and sees it's gone over the line and gets up and runs off in delight. And it was just brilliant because it was one of those goals where it was like, oh, yes! Because he sort of, it's you think he's missed it and he puts it away. And I was absolutely buzzing for him because, look, we've all given him some stick. I think everybody has given him some stick and everybody's doubted him. And I don't care how they come. In fact, I quite like, a big lad up front, not necessarily the world's most sophisticated player, big lad up front, goes in off his arse or his leg or something. That's how you want your big man to score. It was a great goal. Or not
what
a great goal, but
what I would say is actually when you watch it back, I was at the other end, so to be honest, I couldn't even quite work out how the ball had gone in the goal when I saw it happen. But actually, when you see it back, probably the better ball was to cut it back to Rhodes, who was in absolute acres. I mean, there was a defender in the way between him and the goal, and he might have been able to deflect it, but he was in acres. And if you watch the game back, you'd be thinking that's the obvious ball, but then it comes across, and like you say, it's not quite a comedy of errors, but it's at the end of the day, it's gone in the danger zone, hasn't it? And that's where goals happen. So I think we were quite fortunate. I think Bees was quite fortunate, but great to see him get a goal. I think it did his confidence, because I thought he started quite well. I thought he was giving us different options up front and winning a few headers and getting involved. And I think you could see he'd picked up some positive vibes, I think, from Tuesday, where he'd scored 2 very good goals. And sometimes it's all about confidence, isn't it, as a striker? And if you're in the zone and you're in form, you have that extra bit of belief that perhaps you don't have when things aren't going right for you.
First league goal since April, I remember reading.
It will be
for quite some time. Yeah. So it'll do him the world of good. I think that's him. So
he's only ever scored braces for us. He's only ever scored twice in a game for us. Never scored 1 goal. Nice. 2 on his debut, 2 in the was it League Cup or Tin Pot Cup earlier in the season, 2 on Tuesday and 2 on Saturday.
What a start!
Keep him in. Surely he'll have 50 by the end of the season.
Well, if he scores 1, don't take him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, guaranteed another goal.
Yeah.
So, Tim, second half was pretty much more of the same. We have been critical about Blackpool not putting in a full 90-minute performance. It's always been 30 minutes spell here, one half here, 20 minutes there. We've never been the full 90
Well, we had
minutes.
Gricey bragging, didn't we, on the WhatsApp group that all the goals at the South again, and the North's not going to see anything. And to be honest, we had played very well in the first half, but I was expecting a dog of a second half and for it to end 2-0. I couldn't see them scoring, to be honest, or maybe get what. But I've got so used to not seeing goals in the North that I was worried. Well, I think, to be fair, I think we came out and we actually performed. Maybe not for once. I think we've done it one other game, but we performed in both halves, and it was interesting. Obviously, Dembele got a longer run in the second half. We were wondering. I mean, he didn't get quite 90 minutes, but he showed that he most certainly could carry on performing beyond the 60 minutes where he normally gets hooked if he starts. I thought there was some very positive performances out there. I don't know how far you want me to go in relation to that, but obviously it's when the substitutions start to get made that we see the goals. And I probably when the substitution came, the only surprise was that it was Rhodes who got hooked rather than Beasley, because normally Rhodes plays the full 90 minutes, whatever, doesn't he?
I wasn't that surprised about that.
I was surprised because he doesn't normally come off. That's what I'm saying.
I think it was the right
call.
It was the right call. It was, it looked like he's put a shift in Rhodes, and it was the right call. It did turn out to be the case, didn't it? With Carl Joseph nipping on, and what a goal. Again, great build-up. Was it Dembele that little slipped him in?
Yeah, Dembele sort of slipped a bit, Andy. He has this knack, Dembele. I can't remember we actually did it in this, where he sort of goes to ground but manages to keep involved, keep the ball in play and involved, and come away with it. But I think he tried to slot it through, and I think the defender had a bit of an aberration and didn't quite connect with it, and Carl found himself free on the right-hand side, but then lashed the ball into the top of the net. Real striker's goal for me. I was impressed with him with his little cameo last week at Bolton, and so I was very keen to see him get a run. And it was a superb finish, and that'll endear him to the fans. Sort of coming on and quickly getting his first goal at home, and you could see how much he loved it as well. He was running, sort of going all the way down the North Stand, sort of lapping it all up, which is what you want to see.
Matt, if you look at that comment there from Dave Jackson, Rhodes and Joseph well be a lethal partnership. It absolutely could be. I think those two players would complement themselves perfectly.
Yeah, I think, I too was impressed, albeit a cameo the other week at Bolton with Joseph, his movement and his desire to want the ball and trying to do something with it. And the fourth goal I thought was exceptional play from him, putting that pass through to Bees. That wasn't a pass from your bog standard centre forward. That was a quality midfield type number 10 pass. And that is something that, if, he gets to start in the next few weeks, let's say when he's fully match fit, and it is Jordan Rhodes that he's partnered with, you just see him as just being, an equally intelligent footballer. I think he's got, obviously, the attributes to score a few goals, but I think he's also got the attributes to make assists for others as well. And he doesn't seem to almost care where he is. He can come deep, he can go to the left, he goes to the right. He's not just a box type of player. So I think we're going to see the very best of him, hopefully, if he stays fit and gets fit quick. I think that'll only be to our advantage. And he's the sort of player that well, from the little that I've seen of him, I'm getting maybe a bit over the top. I don't know, but I just feel as though he could be a really big player for us if we can keep him fit for the next 5 months or whatever it is left of the season.
But you make him almost sound a bit like Jerry Yates there, don't you? With that ability to come deep, come off the forward line, technically good. Much more than a striker. Quality delivery, and I think that'll be massive for us if we've got a striker who's got sort of a brain on him, but is very, very mobile as well. He's going to make a hell of a lot of space for Rhodes, who's a brilliant at exploiting space. And then we've got in midfield currently, we've got Dembele, who's charging forward and running into those spaces. Carey, who thrives off space around the edge of the box, and sort of CJ and Dale out wide at the moment. I know exactly what you mean about him adding that extra dimension. God bless Labs. I mean, we love Labs, but Labs kind of runs channels very hard. But this lad looks like he might have an extra dimension that could lift that setup to being something actually quite special.
Yeah, and dare I say,
get carried away, but
no, and dare I say, at League One level, you would hope that he would make the most of the opposition that he's against, and because he's from let's be honest, he's from a higher level, isn't he? He's just come from Swansea and been there with them for a wee while, and when he was on loan, I think it was at Wigan, or when he came from Wigan, again Championship level, and he just looks that step ahead already, I think, and it's just early days. Just got to get him fit, and then I think we'll potentially kick on. And like you say, I think it just brings so many other aspects and to our attacking play. Really, you should tell I'm quite excited by it. Really, very much a different player to Jerry Yates, who was used 100% effort all the time and run his nuts off. Whereas I think Joseph's a little bit more cuter than that.
So it begs this question: are we about to see this team show their potential? Tim, if you look at the match stats to your right hand side, whichever you look at it, expected goals, a certain ex-member of this panel, now employed by the club, would be creaming himself.
He would, wouldn't he?
3.09. I've never seen it that high.
We were good, weren't we? We were good, and it wasn't. It's not coming from CJ. It's coming down the left. It's coming through the middle. It's interplay up front between strikers. We got the full mix, I think, on Saturday, which is encouraging, isn't it? And I posed the question in the notes whether we're going to see this team reach its potential, because again, I go back to the start of the season. I actually felt that we had enough in our locker to win the league, and that's probably that's looking a bit aspirational. Bear in mind how many points we are behind the likes of Portsmouth. But I look at our squad, and I don't think I'd actually want to change our squad for many others in the division based on what I know. I just think we've got so much quality. And, we saw Gabriel on Tuesday night looking very attack-minded, looking very positive about the way he was playing. I mean, he's going to be a hell of a player to have available for us as we go into December, hopefully. Hopefully we can get Lions firing in all cylinders. Again, we saw him for a bit on Saturday. And then you've got this, David Jackson saying, it was somebody earlier on saying, we've got 4 options up front. We've actually got 5. If Beasley can carry on doing what he's doing, we've got Kouassi, we've got Rhodes, we've got Joseph, and we've got Lavery when Lavery's back fit. I mean, it's an incredible...
An abundance of riches.
Yeah, and the ability to shove Dembele up there if, as and when we feel we need to. So there is. I mean, I think Rhodes is incredibly important, and the big test will come. The acid test will come at the end of December when we see what Huddersfield do. But I'm very excited for the squad right now, because I think I think we have got the problem for Critchley is actually going to be managing who plays and identifying who's in form and keeping everybody fresh. We may end up with one or two more injuries. I mean, with our record, I think that's pretty much inevitable. But we have got the strength in depth that I think would allow us to cope with most things. The most important thing will be to remain positive and to let this team express itself for me.
Which nicely segues us on to this question. I don't know who's put this in the script, but
it was me who put that in as well, actually. Because,
right.
Well, only because...
hang on a minute, Tim. Let me explain to everyone what it is. There's rumours circulating that CJ may be a target for Huddersfield Derby and QPR. He's only got 6 months left in his contract. The question is, would you sell CJ to Terriers to keep Rhodes?
And that was the question I posed because it's an incredibly difficult one because CJ's in a very rich vein of form. I mean, it can still be like he was hit and miss. He's hit and miss. Like we saw Bolton probably didn't see a great performance out of him, but then he saw on Saturday where I don't think he had the best game ever, but you saw the best of him with the second goal. But I mean, I think Rhodes is so important to us that if Huddersfield came and said, "Well, you can keep Rhodes if we can have CJ," what would you do? And I think it's sort of like a question to pose to see what everybody thought. Really,
I'd be concerned about the pace we'd lose. I mean, bottom line, if we go back to the wise words of Mr. Ragazzino, is you need players who can run. And actually, we're still not the paciest side on earth. We're really not, and that was when I saw the lineup on Saturday, it was the one thing I thought was, is he got enough pace in it now? Dembele's nippy, but he's not fast like CJ. He's more like CJ's a Ferrari and Dembele's a kind of nippy town car that can get into tight spaces.
205 GTI.
Yeah, absolutely. Dale isn't quick. Certainly, then you're down to who's quick. Tomo, he's Gabriel's got a bit of pace around, but Gabriel's not the same player as CJ, is he? I mean, Gabriel's not an out and out attacking player. He's a defensive player with very good attacking instincts. CJ's quite unique in our squad, and I'd be concerned about that. I'd be concerned about a lot of loss of pace, and I can't believe that I'm saying that I think CJ is as key player to us as anyone. I can't believe I'm saying that, but fair play, CJ.
I think the word you just used, Mitch, was unique, and he is unique in many people's eyes for various reasons. But it's his pace. It's sheer pace, isn't it? And I don't think there's a player in this league that's anywhere near him, quite frankly, as far as pace is concerned. There might be some arguments. There was a couple of lads at Peterborough who definitely had some pace about them. And I'm sure there's one or two in a straight line perhaps somewhere. But on a week-by-week basis, in the Championship, even in the Championship, he was doubled up on all the time. League One, he gets doubled up on a lot. But he still manages to, get the chance to cross the ball, let's say that, because sometimes we know his final product isn't what it probably should be. And there's arguments whether he's going to play on the opposite wing at some point of the season as well. But in answer to the question, would you sell CJ to the Terriers to keep Rhodes?
If it was something gun at your head, that's the
if
deal.
it was a gun of the head
no?
and the price was right, then yes, I would.
Tim.
If it was Rhodes goes back and we lose him, or you can sign him on a permanent. I think Rhodes has got 2 to 3 years at a decent level in him because he hasn't played a lot of football in the last 5 or 6. And at this level, I think he's as good as you're going to get. And I think, yes, I see. Listen, I've been a critic of CJ.
Tim, let's just change it to not just to keep Rhodes, to sign Rhodes.
Yeah. That's I meant actually to sign.
It.
Yeah, I should have said sign really. If we could sign, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd sell CJ to get Rhodes just to the end of the season. But I think if you had the option of having Rhodes around for the next 2 or 3 years, I think that's a big decision because I think he is the best striker in in League One.
Players like Rhodes do not come around very often, do they?
No.
It's all right. We'll keep CJ. Rose can go back, and then we'll get Gary back in January. Sorry, no problem. There we go. Move on, everyone.
I think also we got. I mean, if CJ Hamilton's only got 6 months left on his contract, the model is such that if somebody comes in for him, we get rid of them, don't we?
Has he got a 12-month option? I thought he had a 12-month option after that. But equally, if you got money for CJ that you could then reinvest back in the squad and you can get Rhodes on a free, then it's sometimes is about churning. We've done it with Jerry. I mean, if you'd said to us this time last year, would you sell Jerry? Most people would have said no, we can't. But the reality is we've seen that we can bring in a younger player. I know it's early days with Joseph, but we can bring in a younger player who might offer something for the next 3 or 4 years, and then we sell him. And it's about trying to make it also financially sustainable for Simon, if you've had a player for 3 or 4 years and you can then get, I don't know how much CJ will be worth. If you get $1.5 million, 2 million for him, maybe even a little bit more, I don't know. It would be madness not to cash in and then reinvest and go again. Because one thing Critchley's always been able to do is find the players.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree, and I think also if it was the case of signing Rhodes, then I think also you got to look at not just at what he does on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. I'm sure he must be great for the younger players to have in the training area. The knowledge that he has that he could pass on to the likes of Lavery, Kouassi, Joseph, whoever. I don't know how you put a price on that particularly, but. I can see it happening. But obviously, like most fans, if we've got a player who's doing well, like he's CJ at the moment, we don't want any interruption. We want them all to get us promoted, and then we'll worry about it in the summer. But it doesn't necessarily work like that, does it?
I'd sell CJ if we could have that wing back from Oxford that I think he scored against us. He's been
Jamaican lad.
He's been the one wide player from another team where I thought he looks decent and he was rapid as well.
Yeah.
Rodriguez was good as well. We were in for him as well, weren't we? Managed by Javier Fernandez. Right, player ratings. Not done this for ages, have we? So let's go around the room. Graphic up. Starting 11. Change the banner. Let's start with Matt. You can have Grimmy.
It's funny, you've got all these numbers there, and it's going to influence our sort of scoring, isn't it? Really, because I was thinking about putting Grimmy as a 7, not because I think sometimes I'm a little bit more cautious or whatever with my sort of scoring, but there's still an element of he just has the odd little fumble or the odd little it doesn't. He's not as confident as what I thought he was. Last year, he's not carried it through this year.
That first chance they had, he didn't deal with it properly, did he? He should have tipped it out for a goal, for a corner, but it left the attacker with still a bit of a bit of a bite at it.
Yeah, there was my abiding memory was the one where he sort of semi fumbled it in the second half with a bit of a pot shot, and it just sort of came off his chest a little bit, didn't it? And I just thought, those are the sort of things that you should just be comfortably gather. Anyway. I'm picking hairs like I normally do. So anyway, 7 out of 10, mate.
Mitch, Jimmy, still not got a chant. Raggy, what are you doing?
I think Raggy's got something.
It's a disgrace.
Jimbo, but hey ho. Jimbo was great, wasn't he? Again, I mean, he didn't really put a foot wrong, did he? And some of the balls he was chipping in the first two, he just kept chipping it into this little gap where they couldn't cope with it, and they kept just kicking it out for a throw-in because he was just finding that little spot where, like, turning them around with them balls forward. Jimbo, I nearly said 8.5 then, but I'm going to give him an 8+.
An 8.3, perhaps.
The panel squad rotation. Saying Mitch, it'd have made my decision very easy for the squad rotation of the panel had you Disgracefully not used the FPRS. And I'm now over to a man who I'm sure will not incorrectly use the FPRS. Tim.
It's not a mistake I will ever make this show.
Matthew Pennington against his former club. I thought he was a bit shaky today. On Saturday.
Yeah.
Probably his worst game he's played. Maybe giving his old mates a bit of a chance.
Maybe there's a bit of that going on. I mean, I do like him in the team, and I think he's solid, and you're always going to get commitment out of him. But I don't think it was his best game from a distribution point of view. And yeah, I think perhaps maybe it was a little bit of nerves playing against them. I don't know. I'm going to go 7.
Not 7.5.
No.
Damn, he didn't fall into my trap. Matt, Big Marv back in the side. FOTMob have rated him below Pennington. I don't agree with that. I think he's going from strength to strength, Marv, last 3 games.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously he's got his place back in the squad, and he'll do his damnedest to keep himself in that starting 11, I'm sure. So, obviously with Marv, you get the odd shaky little moment when he's on the ball rather than when he's defending, because he's always pretty good. But I don't remember any little stumbles on Saturday. I'll be honest. So. A good 7+ from me.
Mitch, you're lounging around like you're in the Moretti lounge.
Moretti, no,
at the moment. Lounging around, got a seat. Who do you think you are?
John, I don't pay £10 and I just lean against the wall in the South Stand concourse and get served in about 30 seconds. It's good. And then I have
squatting
£10.
down and enjoy it. It's on the website, T's and C's. Owen Dale, Mitch.
Yeah, Dale again. Like I just said for Jimbo, I think Dale's been really good. Virtually every time I've seen him this season, and I think he's almost deceptively key to us in that when we don't play both wing backs, when we don't play both sort of wingers as wing backs, we always seem to look a bit, I don't know, lopsided or not quite as full of intent. And he had I think he had one where he cut inside. He kind of ran across the box and had quite a good shot. He didn't have maybe the greatest game he's ever had sort of going forward. But what struck me was his intent to get back, his tigerishness, and how good he's become at some of the fullback kind of work. I was watching him track their winger, and he was sticking really, really tight to him, and he wasn't diving in, and he was kind of making it really difficult and not getting wrong side of the ball, and there were a couple of kind of clattering tackles he did, and I thought he had a really good game. I think that 6.8 is a bit harsh on him, to be honest. So I will give him a 7+.
Sonny Carey, Tim.
I quite enjoyed Sonny's performance on Saturday. I've got to say, I think he's coming for a little bit of stick. I'm not the only one, but I think he scored a couple of goals, Fleetwood, didn't he, and started getting a few shots off. But I think what I liked particularly about Saturday's performance was his interplay in midfield and the way that he was getting involved in other players in the game. I think Mitch mentioned his involvement with the first goal, and I just thought it was he looked very comfortable. I think will be my description of him on Saturday. He looked like he owned the position, and I think it was between possibly him and Morgan who started on Saturday, and I think he proved to Critchley that he made the right decision for me. So I'm going to give him an 8.
Who's got Sir Kenneth? Matt, you have. I bet Tim's gutted. He's not got him. Gutted. My personal man of the match was Kenny.
Yeah,
What do you
likewise.
think, Matt?
I thought he was immense. I really did. I thought he was everywhere, anywhere, doing it simple, playing it forward when he needs to be, feeding Dembele all the time. Just didn't put a foot wrong for me. Seemed to have a yard of space now, whether that's because of his ability or Shrewsbury's lack of in terms of the midfield, I don't know, and I don't really care. I thought he was fantastic. And obviously, he was the Australian inspiration for the World Cup victory at the cricket the following day. So they were obviously watching Kenny the previous day over in Calcutta or wherever it was. And I thought he was amazing. I thought he was really, really good. And it will be interesting to see what happens if Norburn's fit on Saturday, because you can't replace him. So whether there's just another headache for Critchley now and whether he has to think about something else, being away from home, that might sort of help him initially to be a little bit more conservative perhaps. But for me, I think he's undroppable at the moment. I really do. So he's a 9+ for me. I thought it was a great performance.
Thumbs up.
There you go.
Timothy. Mitch, Karamoko, Dembele played for almost the whole game as well.
Yeah, and what a pleasure he is week in, week out. I mean, we've just alluded before it being a bit of a privilege to watch Jordan Rhodes. And it's an absolute privilege to watch this boy because he's kind of the player that I hoped Pervader was going to be, and that we saw every now and again in Pervader B. But this lad, he's consistent with it, isn't he? I mean, I know he didn't tear it up against Bolton, but he still hit the post. And I think virtually every other game I've seen him play, he's just been a joy. Here, they absolutely targeted him. And it didn't bother him. It didn't faze him. Every time he got the ball, he either span away from them and made something happen, or he got hacked down and he just kept getting up again. He was like a little weeble, just constantly getting up, getting knocked down, getting up. Fine, you can foul me. I'll get free kicks. I'll get a penalty. I don't care. Just give me the ball. I'll do it again. And I think he came deep, he went wide, he came in the middle, he made little darts forward, he did everything that we've said he does. I think just going back to Sonny, I think he's taken a certain pressure off Sonny to be a player that perhaps Sonny isn't quite. Sonny isn't that sort of necessarily that box of tricks number 10. He's a different sort of player than that. And Dembele's taken pressure off that. I think he's taken pressure off the whole team. I thought he was great here. I would agree that Dougal was probably the pick of the bunch. So what did you give Dougal, Matt? Was it 9+?
9+.
So Dembele gets a straight 9 for me.
Okay. Tim, CJ Hamilton.
Yeah, I think I sort of alluded to before. I didn't think it was anything like his best games for us. I think we've seen him play far better this season, but he was incredibly effective with the build up to the second goal. And, he's got a reputation now, hasn't he? So he is very, very tightly marked, and it makes the opportunities when they come maybe slightly less frequent, because I think that, they see him as a danger man, but that probably gives Dembele a bit of space, or it might give Dale a little bit of space on the other side when we switch it. So it was a competent rather than exceptional performance for me. So I'm going to go 7+.
Jake the Brace Beasley. Matt. Sounds like a wrestler's name, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, unless she's got bad teeth, I'm not quite sure. It was. I mean, what can you do? The guy comes in and scores 2 goals when nobody expected him to even start the bloody game. So, you can't help but admire him, really. I mean, it was interesting. Dale's post-match. I think it was Owen Dale's post-match interview, where he bigged up Jake Beasley for his attitude off the pitch, and obviously all the lads were chuffed with him and all that sort of carry on. Which these are the sort of things we don't really appreciate as much being fans. But he's obviously quite a key and integral part of the squad, which is great to hear, because if he does have to slot in and play his part, the lads can obviously have faith that he's going to do what he did on Saturday and the next time he plays, hopefully away at Portsmouth and gets another brace. But yeah, he did everything you wanted from a striker. He took that second goal so coolly, and yeah, I think I'll go. Let's have a look. I'll go 8+. It wasn't an all-round number 9/10 performance, but yeah, 8+ is pretty decent, I think.
I just fact-checked. You know, you said Beasley hadn't scored since April. It's actually April 2022 he hasn't scored in the league.
Jeez.
Wow. Was that his debut then?
Yeah. No, I don't know if it was. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was Birmingham, wasn't it? It was a 6.
Yeah, 6-0 or whatever.
Against
6-1.
Birmingham, yeah. And he hasn't scored in the league since. Because he was out injured, wasn't he, virtually all last season?
Yeah, true. True.
Mickey Appleton had the bright idea of playing him on right wing.
That's right. Yeah.
And what a goal to break that duck, eh?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though. Off the backside. Yeah, exactly.
Count.
It is the archetypal in off the backside goal, isn't it? He just needs one in off his backside. He's not going to be able to stop now.
Okay, finally, Jordan Rhodes, Mitch, on double figures now for the season, 4th in the top scorers chart, 2 behind May from Charlton. So also got 3 assists. What a player. What a
player. And Tim's already done a eulogy for him, and I would back up everything there. And as I said before, it's a privilege to watch him, whether he stays for another month and a bit, whether he stays for another 6 months, whether he stays with us for 3 years. It's a privilege to watch a player of that quality. It really is. And actually, I don't think it was his greatest game. And I think Tim said before, it might have been Matt, I can't remember, but he doesn't necessarily have to have a 10 out of 10 game every week. He doesn't necessarily have to score every week. I actually thought in front of goal, he was a little bit clumsy this week. There were a couple of times when he didn't take the ball in, or the ball kind of didn't quite run for him, and his touch wasn't quite as magnetic as it sometimes was. But it doesn't really matter, because he ran the angles, he ran the line, he linked up brilliantly, created that goal, and he was just, again, really integral. And isn't it funny that Beasley looked like he didn't look like a footballer, and then he comes and starts next to Rhodes, and suddenly he looks pretty decent. Lavery's been hot and cold, plays next to Rhodes, looks back to his old self. Kouassi, this boy that we've taken sort of from the league below, that we all think's not, plays next to Rhodes and looks like a flipping monster some of the games, and so on and so forth. He makes other players better. So for that, I'll go with 8- for his all-round team performance and contribution.
Okay, we've not done this for a while either. Manager rating. Is that handbrake finally off? Let's start with you, Matt.
I hope so. I think it was telling that when the game in the second half was a little bit looking like we could just revert to type and go a little bit sort of in our shell, that we had the ability to bring Carl Joseph on, and obviously he made an impact that kept the handbrake off, rather than in previous games with, let's say, certain other players on to do the exact opposite. So, maybe he's learned from this game, and possibly 1 or 2 others recently, where, let's just enjoy it and use these lads' abilities more positively. So, I think he got everything pretty much right, didn't he, really? So, let's give him an 8 out of 10 if that's what we're doing.
Mr. Mitch?
I'm going to go higher for him, actually, because I would struggle to say, you can only beat the opposition in front of you. I would struggle to say anything he did wrong. We've been very critical about his in-game management at times. Matt's just nailed it with the subs. I literally said to the fella next to me, we just need a change of batteries in the team at the point we did, and we brought those, and it brought the energy back. And I thought he made some brave calls. Somebody said in the chat that they were surprised to see Dembele and Carey starting together. And Beasley was a big call, as Tim said before. No one in the ground expected him to play. Literally the last message in our presenter's WhatsApp thing was something like, Beasley's playing, and Tim saying, "You're joking." big exclamation mark, which was pretty similar to everybody's reaction. So I'm going to give him a 9 for credit for some big calls that came off, and for, as Matt rightly said, keeping it positive, not letting it flag, not letting the energy drop, and using not only the ability of the players, but just bringing on a couple of players with something to prove at the right time to up that energy. So I think a masterclass from Critch, that.
Changing the batteries. I like that one. Sort of thing you'd come out with, Tim.
I know. I've let myself down today. I've let you quote Shakespeare at the beginning, and then
he did have another Timism, didn't he?
Who did?
Sorry,
you did, Mitch.
Me?
Yeah, I'll listen back.
Okay.
It was almost on the chameleonic level.
Was it eulogy?
No. I'll
Okay.
pick it out afterwards. But anyway, Tim, manager rating.
I'm going to sandwich myself fairly and squarely between my my fellow presenters, and I'm going to go for an 8+. I think not a lot I can add really to what the other guys have said. I think he's done the right thing in relation to the substitutions. I think he's made the right calls, and more importantly, he's gone into the game with a positive mindset. And whether we think he has or he hasn't beforehand, there can be no doubt on Saturday that he did. An interesting stat. I think we're up there, if not the top scorers at home, most certainly one of the top scorers at home now. Yes, we played some extra games against other people, but we are. All I say is let's score a few more than down at the North, please, because it's been thin pickings this season in the North, and so let's have a few more down that end. But other than that, 8+. Really impressed. We've got a tough game Saturday, which we're going to go on to talk about. But I think after that, as we said on there's a run of games where I think we can really put some points on the board, and I think it's going to be a very pivotal month. Is December.
Okay, we may be doing a preview show, but let's just very quickly have your thoughts on Pompey, Matt. The acid test is Portsmouth away, isn't it? Unbeaten side. Can we take that form to Pompey?
Well, we can certainly take the positivity, and you'd like to think that we would have the same mindset and hopefully a different mindset than we had at Bolton, where I think we just had our bellies tickled a little at times. We've got nothing to lose. They're unbeaten at home. Well, they're unbeaten all season, aren't they? So why the hell not? If you want to treat it as a free hit, I don't really like that expression, but you can do. You're going a million miles away from home. You've got nothing to lose, but just play with a lot of pride and a lot of ability that we've got. And let's just see what happens. And we might be the first ones to take 3 points away from Fratton Park. I won't be watching it. I'll be away the weekend, so I'll probably not find out till late on Sunday what the result is, because I won't be in any fit state.
Should come on the pod then, Matt.
Yeah, I'll be right for it.
The masses
live from the
demanding.
Live from the Reaper barn.
That chemical-free lager has a lot to say for it, doesn't it? It's,
oh dear, yeah.
And you know, Mitch, I've just got a feeling we're going to do something at Portsmouth. It's just like Blackpool to go there and beat an unbeaten side.
I've also got a
feeling we're going to do it.
I've got the same feeling, but I've got a feeling we're going to do it by Critch picking like a 7-2-1 formation or something, and as having one shot, scoring once, and then just all standing in front of the goal like this while Portsmouth try and score. But I too have that good feeling. And to be honest, the way we played today, not today, it was Saturday. The way we played Saturday, for me, that. I've never any doubt that we can have a decent record against the top 6, 7, 8 teams. The question that I've always had about Critchley's teams is, why can't we beat crap teams? Why can't we take crap teams to the cleaners? And I honestly think that that's something that is as important as how we do against the top 2 or 3. It really is, because there's, you can beat Portsmouth and they're top, but you only get 6 points against Portsmouth. There's another 140 whatever points to take against all the other teams, and most of them don't really play like Portsmouth. Most of them, or a lot of the teams in this division, play a bit like Shrewsbury, and we absolutely wipe the floor with them. And that gives me optimism for the sort of week in, week out stuff, regardless of how we do it against probably the best side in the division.
Tim, if you look in the comments, elbows to put Mitch describes versus Stoke 93 when we won 1-0. We were all there, but I don't think we were down and out and destitute almost in that game. We had Neil Bailey playing. He was the reserve. Was he the youth team coach?
Yeah, he was
playing.
Yeah.
We were down on our arses, but absolute bare bones. But that isn't the case for us. I think we're probably at the strongest we've been this season.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I don't know whether I saw something on AVFTT. I think suggested that they've got some injuries maybe, or they've got some doubts for Saturday. But listen, it's going to be very incredibly tough. I think they've played 16 games, won 10, drawn 6. Top scorers at home, I think, if I recall right, and also the top scorers overall. So it's going to be incredibly challenging. Again, it's not a ground I can recall as having much success at in the past. So here's hoping, eh? I sort of wish I was going. I don't think I'm going to be able to swing it.
I've never been.
I know. Well, I want to go on Saturday, but I'm away the following week and more. So I think I've got to play the game a bit, unfortunately. But I really do fancy going. So it's one of them. I might even make a late call on it, but I'll have to speak nicely to Mrs. Tim.
Can't you just fly in your private jet?
If I had one, I would do. But no, I'm
going to go by yacht instead, all the way around the coast. Like at the front, like Simon Le Bon.
No, Mr. Eldas could lend us his private jet. If embraced by the majority. Good vibes only, Nomis, on here. Good vibes only. And on that note, I think we'll call it a day there. It's now 10 to 11.
God.
It's been an extremely long day today, hasn't it? A work day. I've been training now, but such is our dedication to the cause. So I thank you on behalf of all our fantastic listeners and viewers, gentlemen, and we may be doing a preview show on Thursday, getting a Pompey fan on, but I'll let you lot have a rest, and I'll rotate the squad and get Andy back on to give us a piece of his mind again. But it did the trick. It absolutely did the trick. So everybody, thanks out there for watching. Do like and subscribe, and all that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. Up the pool. Come on,
Pool. Come on.